Hi, everybody. John McLaughlin here for another Warrior Wednesday as we interview some of the key folks that I've trained with and been with, and just folks that I really appreciate in the firearms industry. And joining us from the east side of the country, Stav and Mac from She Equips Herself. And I guess it was last spring, did some training with them. And being a guy that worked on TV for 30 years, and then you meet someone in person and they say, wow, you're the same person I met on, or I see on television. That's exactly what these folks are about. So it's not one personality you see on the YouTube channel and you meet them in person and they're totally different. These are genuine, good, moral, just fun people to be around, go out to eat with and hang out. So welcome to our little podcast here with the Iowa Firearms Coalition.
Thank you for having us, John.
Thanks, John.
You bet. Well, Stav, it's been, I don't know, 3 years or so. I found your channel, the gal in my life named Mindy hadn't been carrying her firearm. She's very proficient, very well trained, but like being a fit female, she just couldn't find anything. And so we started searching on YouTube and we found a video, I think it was called Running with My Firearm or something like that. And that kind of got us experienced with you. And then next thing you know, belly bands are showing up from all these different manufacturers to try. Just give us a brief update, kind of how you got into this, what you were doing before you got into the firearms world, and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay, so before I got into the firearms world, I was working in banking. Right out of high school, I was 18. I started working at a local bank, and I was there for about 12 years. Sorry,
we should probably introduce the dog too.
She's having a very affectionate week too. She's very, I don't know, she's going through a phase, I think, but she's all over me every day.
Yeah.
Like
That's good. Dogs are good.
Okay, that's good.
So at the end of my 12 years in banking, I started to realize that I was interested in other things, specifically things related to teaching women about safety. And I started shooting probably around the time that I started working at the bank. I was 18. And it was more just for fun back then. My sister started teaching me. She was my first teacher. And I'd go shooting with her casually, but then she moved. So I started shooting on my own. I got my license. And then I started teaching other people while I was working at the bank. After work, I'd go to the range and people kept asking me to take them. And I realized that I liked to share all this information with other people. I like teaching firearm safety, specifically to other women, because I know that it can be intimidating for women to go to the range with a man, because sometimes men have a bit of an ego and they might put something a little too strong in the hands of a new shooter. Mm-hmm. And so I like teaching women at the range. And then that's actually where I met Mac. I was taking a class on concealed carry and he was teaching it. So I met him there. And then eventually I quit the bank and he actually encouraged me to do the YouTube thing. He's been a huge support for me and my biggest fan. So then I started doing all this stuff on YouTube, teaching about concealed carry holsters, and I find that I can reach more people this way than I can in person. So
did you like become an NRA instructor then, or kind of give us a little bit of the instructor background part of this?
So I took an instructor course with Gun Owners Action League here in Massachusetts. That's our local gun owner advocacy group. And it was a 2-day course. I did that course, and then I actually helped him with some of his classes. I would show female holsters in his classes. I didn't really get into doing the basic classes on my own. Mm-hmm. I assisted with a few of those, but that wasn't really where I wanted to go. I think I wanted to teach more of the concealed carry stuff. So I became an instructor. I would do private lessons occasionally, mostly with women. And then I started doing the videos.
You also did that other class though. What was that?
I had a women's only class at Mass Firearms School. Mm-hmm. And that was based around like the concepts of personal protection, situational awareness, and concealed carry. So that was just for women. And I did that class on my own for a bit at MFS.
Did you imagine when you got going on this that you suddenly have, I don't know, it's over 100,000 now, I think, followers or subscribers there?
I did not. I mean, I wasn't really expecting that. I remember when I was trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, it felt impossible and it just felt like it took forever. And now that I've hit over 100,000, it just feels kind of unreal.
I'm the opposite. I always knew. I
a
told him,
lot of
I'm like, you're
faith
gonna
in
be
me.
big. I know you're gonna be big if you just, if you do this, it's gonna catch. I know it's her personality, the way she comes across. I just knew it was gonna work. And so I was,
My #1 fan.
I'm ecstatic you've had over 100,000, but I just expect, it's gonna keep growing.
Yeah, it is fantastic. It's good to see. And I think one of the more important things is the information that's coming out is solid. It's not just, shilling for different companies. It's actually trying the stuff, not recommending stuff that you wouldn't actually use and carry. And I think with all of us, that kind of evolves where we have something we like a holster or something, then we find out, well, maybe I know a little bit more about holsters now. So the recommendations may change over time, but take me a little bit through your personal growth in that area.
Well, when you say that, it makes me think of when I first started carrying. I was pretty into Instagram, so I'd share a lot of the stuff that I was using on there. And before YouTube, that's where I'd share all my information. And I'm still on Instagram, but I'd get a new holster and I'd want to talk about it. I'd get pepper spray that I liked and I want to talk about it. And those same companies are the ones that I still talk about because I love them.
Right.
So like you said, it's just sharing things that I actually like and use and think that other people would find helpful.
How about just going from the gun thing for just a second? You mentioned pepper spray. I teach a lot of self-defense classes, and I'm a big proponent of something besides just a firearm. So just dive into that for just a second. Tell folks what you preach about pepper spray.
Yeah, so this is something I actually learned from Mac because he teaches a pepper spray class that I took. And he always says, like, if you only have, what's that thing you say? If the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So it's important to know. Did I get that?
Yeah, close enough.
It's important to know when you can use lethal force and when you can't, because if all you have is a gun and someone is attacking you, maybe in a non-lethal way, if you respond with that firearm, you could get yourself in a lot of trouble, both legally and psychologically. So it's always better to be able to respond with more than one type of tool. Would you agree?
The gentleman that did our instructor classes for pepper spray is named Chuck Haggard, and he says you need something between a harsh word and a gun.
Yeah.
So therefore, we have the little palms.
I've been trying to drive that point home since I've been teaching. I don't like the gun only mindset. In fact, if it's one tool, if you're going to carry one tool, you should be carrying pepper spray. And I always tell people, like, the math on it is just not even worth talking about. It's so overwhelming. You're so overwhelmingly more likely to be assaulted in your life than you are to be murdered in your life. The gun stops people from murdering you. The pepper spray stops every other form of assault, and you're way more likely to deal with an assault. So if you're going to carry one tool, mathematically speaking, you should have the pepper spray on you. But I'm an advocate for gun and pepper spray. Like, that's the combo. Like, at a minimum, that's what goes on your body if you're going to carry, generally speaking, every day. And then you can implement and add other tools from there. But the gun and the pepper spray, they're hand in hand. One, if the gun goes on, the pepper spray better be on. If you're going to just take pepper spray, okay, I can understand that, especially for people not super comfortable with guns. But you got to have that, like you said, but something between a harsh word and I screwed it up. I was in a gun, but you got to have that tool, and pepper spray, as a guy that's been sprayed with pepper spray multiple times, I can tell you that it works well. It works really well. Like, if you get a good shot into someone's mug, they're not going to be a problem for you. You'll have plenty of time to escape and get out of there. It'll be a big problem for them for about 45 minutes. And it's just a fantastic tool. And I encourage everybody to carry pepper spray. And then if you're going to also carry a gun, you better be carrying pepper spray, because
This is totally digressing, but we went through a class recently. You got all these riots and stuff going on across the country. Well, not as bad now as a year ago, but we did some testing on people that both had the face masks and also were wearing like some kind of significant sunglasses or safety glasses. That's not something that had been in my thought pattern until recently. And once you hosed them down, if they had the mask on and glasses, the effectiveness was not as good as we would have hoped.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sure. Yeah, that would be a good defense of it. But
yeah, it is good. And I think if you've had the training in both the pepper spray and the firearms, now you probably are going to spend a little more time trying to de-escalate and everything, and going through a little bit of a thought process, like, okay, this guy's not that serious. I'm just going to hose him down with the hot sauce and get this done and go on with my day.
Yeah.
So tell me about, you guys have been to some classes besides teaching your own classes. You trained with us and John and the group from Active Self-Protection a while back. Are you continuing to train on your own, or give me a little bit of background, what you do when you're not on YouTube? And Mac, I know you're in law enforcement and probably got a lot of training that goes on with that.
Yeah, so, well, since the Ask class, I don't think I did any except for your classes. I always go to his classes that he teaches just because it's good practice for me.
Free trigger time for her.
Right.
Yeah.
So anytime he's teaching a live fire class, I always go. And that's good practice. We did have the wedding.
That's true. There was a small inconvenience in there, a wedding, all that stuff.
Yeah, there's some disruptions in our training.
Yeah.
and hunting.
That's an isolated incident, though. Maybe next year will be a little better.
Yeah. I mean, I've been running my department, the police department I work for, is very good about training. We shoot 4 to 5 times a year, and I'm the lead firearms instructor. I'm the lead training officer. So, you know, we're shooting live rounds on the range 4 to 5 times a year, and we also do tactical training generally 2 times a year, and that almost always involves simunitions.
Mhm.
So we're pulling triggers, you know, whether it be sims coming out or real rounds coming out multiple times a year, and I'm always running that. And as an instructor, I don't even want to say a huge fan. Like I just think this is how you should do it. You know, it's like when it's not done this way, I find you don't get the buy-in from your students, especially in the law enforcement world, because as I'm sure you know, cops are difficult people a lot of times. They always, I don't want to say they always know everything, but there's a little bit going on there. So I'm a huge advocate for demoing everything. Like you demo the drill, then you have them do it, and every single time. So every single drill that I'm teaching, I'm shooting first. So a lot of my firearms training, or what I'm doing, is as I come up with a drill, or as I design a drill, or as I steal it from someone else, I'll shoot it, and then I have to do it at least 4 times because we have 4 training groups. So I'll do it 4 times in a week, and then every single drill I'll either demo, or some of my other instructors are demoing. So most of my trigger time now, and this has been for a few years now, comes from just demoing drills and then running the drills. So like when we went to the Ask class, I was just super excited about not running anything. Like I was just like, I can't wait to have someone else just say keep shooting and just shoot, and just not have to yell, and not my voice is gonna be fine, and I'm gonna listen to what they tell me and try to implement what they tell me, and just enjoy it, because I just always running the range, you get that warped sense. But my background, before I really got overly super deep in the training world, I went to every class that either department would let me go to, or I could go to on my own. So SIG Academy is up here in New Hampshire, relatively. Yeah. I've been up to SIG, I don't know, 10 times. Like I've been to almost every, like what I would consider to be cool class they have up there. So I took a whole bunch of SIG training, and then we had a really active instructor for the FBI he covered the entire New England area, and I wouldn't say he's a good friend of mine, but we were able to talk and pal around, and he ran a lot of classes for local law enforcement, and he was an excellent shot, an excellent instructor. So I was able to get a lot of the training from the FBI. I've been to a bunch of state police schools, and when Smith & Wesson was open, and this is years ago, I went to just about every school Smith & Wesson had. So in the course of my career, I was able to do all that. And I was also a SWAT operator for about 6 years. And with that, I was able to, we were shooting multiple times a month. And we had a company called LEAD, which is, it's LAPD SWAT operators. And they kind of travel around the country and share what they do. Mm-hmm. And obviously LAPD, as far as SWAT goes, they're kind of like, they're the SEAL Team 6 of SWAT teams. You listen to what LAPD SWAT has to say, and so I was able to train with them multiple times, and we had some special forces guys, some Green Berets, and some SEALs come out at different times. So I was able to bounce around the whole world, and not the whole world, but a lot of different avenues, and kind of just absorb as much as I could. And then I take it all in, and then I develop my own kind of approach as I spit it back out. I think this is what works best for me, kind of deal, and so this is what I teach now. So I've dumped all that on her. we go to the range together, and I just I can't help but add little things here and there. It's
helpful.
And that's where we are right now. So
I would say you are more than just self-defense people. I can tell by all the hiking and all the stuff you do. You're pretty much into have that physical fitness as well as the self-defense training going on.
I wish it was more.
This year has been, we haven't been doing so well in that department.
Yeah.
We did do quite a bit of hiking this year.
Yeah, we got some good hiking in, but we, both of us would like to spend more time in the gym and more time, doing maybe some hands-on stuff, some open hand training. So that's our next goal really, is to get into, to join some type. I used to box, and I would love to get back into boxing, but I should probably spend more time doing the close contact, the
I would
grappling.
love to do like jujitsu.
Yeah, Brazilian
at some
jiu-jitsu,
point.
BJJ is probably what we should be getting into, because it's just a smarter
Might
move.
be a goal for next year.
Yeah, so I think that's our next move, is to get deeper into that. I've had a fair amount of training on it, but not where I would feel like I know what I'm talking about. I just have a little bit more than your average Joe.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing. I've got a 24-year-old son that is a trauma nurse in the ER, and they had somebody come in January to try to, well, he said it was going to be a murder-suicide. And my son, all the time we beat each other up on the mat, he called me at 1:30 in the morning, goes, "Dad, all that training we did, it finally paid off."
Yeah.
Pushed the guy through the glass doors and broke the doors off the hospital and hurt himself in the process in the back, but better than the alternative that could have happened that night.
In that line of work, he's going to probably need those skills more than once.
Yeah.
I've been in the ER a few times when things get all sorts of crazy, so that's going to be an adventure for him.
It's not where you go if you want a quiet life, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, Stav, tell me where you want to take your channel in the future. I'm sure you're thinking about, what's next, what kind of things you're going to get into. Give us a little sneak preview of for the next 100,000 subscribers.
Oh boy. Well, the channel, I'm trying to keep it, with the same theme, going over concealed carry stuff. I'm in the process of creating a course that it came from me wanting to get to people who might not be able to take classes in person as much. Specifically, when I think about the course, I think about mothers. And a lot of moms spend a lot of time at home. They can't go out and go to classes all the time. But a lot of them also want ways to find how to keep their families safe. So the course is called Armed and Confident Academy. And I wanted to create it to access all these people and give them confidence and basic information that they need to know in order to make a firearm part of their daily life. So that's what I'm currently working on the side, as well as my channel. And that's kind of what I want to be focusing on for now. But the channel will remain active, and I'll still be putting videos out there. I feel like you have something to say.
I would just say the course you put together is like it's big. It's robust.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah, you probably and if you can remember, John, back to when you first started carrying, you kind of approach it. A lot of my students say this to me, like, I didn't realize how much there was to know. Like when you start learning a little bit, you realize how big this world is, from just different firearms to different holsters to all different types of gear like pepper spray, and then all the use of force stuff. And when you kind of get into it, you think it's just going to be real simple, and then you start to realize it's a bigger world. Maybe I don't really know all that much about it, and it takes a little while to learn. So her course encompasses like, it's a really good intro course to get you up to speed on like everything: use of force, carrying guns, shooting guns, how they work. It's a really, like, when she first told me about the class, I didn't think it would be this broad. I thought it was going to be much more like
specific.
Yeah, more like your intro class. I didn't know it was going to cover everything. So.
Well,
so I don't want to say everything, but it's much bigger than I thought it would be.
I wanted to take things that I wish I knew in the beginning and put them all in one place so that people can have this information from the start. So I was basically trying to go back and think of all the things that I wish I knew when I started getting into guns and put them all in an online course that people can have at home.
Yeah, as Mac said, people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And then somehow they have to be exposed to that, and that sure changes the mindset once you give them that information. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Tell me about Second Amendment in your portion of the country there. In Iowa, it's we're trying to get it added to the state constitution so the Fed folks can't come in someday and try to take things away without too much of a ruckus. Just kind of where do things stand out in your area?
It's tough. It's tough out here.
How much time do we have? We have 12 minutes left.
Oh boy.
it's I don't want to say it's scary, but yeah, I mean, I feel like Massachusetts is one of those states that is, you know, spearheading the anti-gun revolution. You know, it's yeah. Our limit on firearms is robust. I don't know, maybe us in California are probably the biggest as far as what guns you will see when you walk into a gun shop. We have this thing called mass compliancy. So a gun has to pass certain regulations and certain things in order to be put on the Attorney General's list. Then the Attorney General has to okay it. Now there's a lot of, in my opinion, political stuff that happens because there's two lists. One list, okay, the gun passes. Second list, it gets approved. Well, I don't know what it takes to get approved, but I think that there's some things going on around the, you know, so guns that pass the test go on one list, and then you still can't get them till they get approved. So when a new firearm comes out, we're always like, oh, that looks great. We can't even see it. Like we can't touch it for another year and a half, you know. So there's a limit to our firearms choices, and that's not fantastic. So but that's livable. You know, like you learn to live within that because there's still a lot of good guns out there that you can get your hands on, but we don't have nearly like the choices that a lot of the rest of the state have. Then we have an assault weapons ban, so you cannot get like any AR-15 related firearm if you don't already own one. It was like July of 2018. That was the end of that. Oh, so nobody can get those. So if you didn't already have one, you can't get one.
Yeah.
As far as, and those regulations are tight, like, you know, you can't even pass them down to your kids kind of thing.
Have you guys thought about moving?
Oh yeah.
It's crossed our minds.
I think about it all the time because like, I'm always thinking if this keeps getting worse, I'm going to have, like, I'm not going to stay here. And as a police officer, when I'm working within the laws that I'm supposed to be enforcing. And this just happened last night. I got a phone call from another sergeant last night about a totally unconstitutional Massachusetts law that shouldn't even be on the books. And the other sergeant's like, should I do this or should I do that? And I'm like, no, you got a good guy. He's got no criminal history. You know, the Constitution does exist, you know, just kind of safeguard the whole situation. I can't get too deep into it because it's an open case, but we have rules on the books that are just flat out just wrong as far as how America is supposed to work and how it's founded. And I've had multiple situations where I'll go at it with an ADA. I mean, I got into a big pissing match with an ADA not too long ago and told him I'd never testify for him again. And, you know, like, not good things for my career, obviously, but it was, you know, it was one of those situations where they were basically trying to throw someone in jail that was a super minor crime just because guns were involved, and Massachusetts is like that. So, I mean, you're going to get me going. Like, I'm going to try not to get too deep, but
we should be living in like Montana or something.
On the flip side, I'll try to spin a little positive on this. Like, many people think it's like impossible or super difficult to get licenses for firearms in Massachusetts, and that's not the biggest problem. There's a few locations where you just flat out can't get them. Boston, Watertown, Somerville, like around the cities. But for the most of the state, it's not that difficult to get your license to carry, which is what it's called in Mass. It's at a minimum a 3.5, 4-hour course. Then you apply at your police department, and a lot of police departments are pretty good about it, and they get it to you in a relatively short period of time. So I know that there are other states where it's more difficult to get your license, but then once you have it, you have a lot more, you know, you have a lot more capability. In Mass, it's not that hard to get your license, but then once you have it, it's difficult to get guns and ammunition and different choices. So
there's a lot of restrictions.
Yeah.
Is there a strong opposition to that? Like in Iowa, we started a group about 10 years ago to, you know, push through the shell issue and now the constitutional amendment. Is there anything like that going out there?
Well, GOAL.
Yeah, we have GOAL, Gun Owners Action League, and they're pretty good. They're always in the city trying to. They're at the State House.
What's that 2A?
COM2A, Commonwealth Second Amendment is another group here that we have.
Yeah, COM2A is like a group of lawyers that are like available to help you with your Second Amendment violations. You know, like you live in a difficult town and your chief just doesn't give out licenses to carry, just shelves them or just goes in the grinder. You apply and it just disappears, like or it takes like 9 months. So there's a group of attorneys where you can contact to help you with your Second Amendment. rights. And then goal is, I don't want to say it's like a mini NRA, but it
It's
is
like
though.
the state's NRA.
It's like the state's NRA where, people that shoot and people that are members of gun clubs, a lot of them are members of goal and they're real active. I see emails on them all the time. They do the best they can, but
It's a tough state.
you're fighting. It's such a dramatic uphill battle here. I mean, like Elizabeth Warren is one of our senators. I mean, people voted for her.
Yeah.
People vote for her. I don't what? So like if she's getting voted in, there's a huge chunk of the state that just don't know, don't know like this. They're just they're on a different plane than I'm on. So
the problem is it's usually a group of volunteers against a bunch of politicians with unlimited resources.
Right.
Yeah, and in this state with a lot of backing on top of it. So it's it does make me nervous, as far as like what's going to happen next. But we're still chugging along.
Still here.
Yeah,
that's good. Well, stay in the fight, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So Stav, give us a little promo. Tell folks how to get to your channel, how to follow you on your different social platforms.
All right. So She Equips Herself on all social media. YouTube is She Equips Herself. That's my channel name. Same with Instagram. I also have a Facebook page that's also She Equips Herself. So please check out my channel if you're interested in what I put out there. He's on there occasionally. He's in my videos as well sometimes. So we get to see his face.
Yeah, I like the little Q&A about wedding planning and all this stuff. You really do feel like you get to know your guys. So even though we've only, been together like for 16 hours in our whole life, you guys feel like you're good friends.
Yeah, I try to make it a little more personal.
Great stuff. Well, I want to wish you the best being newlyweds and all the other stuff that's coming along with that in the near future here. So just best of luck to you guys. You're good Second Amendment folks, and we sure appreciate what you're doing out there, not just on the East Coast, but across the country with your channel.
Thank you, John.
Thanks,
Thanks for having us.
All right, you bet. We'll be in touch soon. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.